In a significant development on the geopolitical stage, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has stated that Ukraine cannot guarantee the safety of foreign leaders, including Chinese President Xi Jinping, who may attend the upcoming Victory Day celebrations in Moscow on May 9. Zelensky's comments underscore the rising tensions and security concerns surrounding the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, which has reshaped the dynamics of international diplomacy and security. As the world gears up for the May 9 commemorations, which historically honor the Soviet victory over Nazi Germany, Zelensky's remarks highlight the precarious nature of security in the region. "We cannot ensure the safety of foreign leaders in Moscow given the current state of affairs," Zelensky remarked during a press conference. This assertion reflects not only the ongoing military activities in Ukraine but also the broader implications of Russia's actions, which have prompted a re-evaluation of security protocols for international dignitaries. The context of Zelensky's statement is critical. The war in Ukraine, which began in 2022, has led to heightened tensions between Russia and the West, with each side increasingly wary of the other's military intentions. The potential attendance of leaders like Xi Jinping, who has maintained a complex relationship with Russia amidst the conflict, adds another layer of complexity to the situation. As a global power, China's involvement, or even its perceived alignment, can influence international responses and strategies regarding the Ukraine conflict. This situation is compounded by the fact that many nations are re-examining their security postures in light of the war. With the backdrop of ongoing military operations and a litany of sanctions imposed on Russia by Western nations, the notion of safety for foreign leaders in Moscow appears daunting. Analysts suggest that this could deter high-profile international visits to Russia, potentially isolating the country further on the global stage. Additionally, Xi Jinping's potential visit to Moscow aligns with his broader strategy of positioning China as a key player in international affairs, particularly in contrast to Western influence. His participation in the Victory Day celebrations could be interpreted as a show of solidarity with Russia, but Zelensky's comments may force a reconsideration of such engagements as the risks become more pronounced. In light of these developments, it remains to be seen how foreign leaders will navigate the complexities of diplomatic engagements with Russia. The implications of Zelensky's warning extend beyond the immediate safety concerns. They reflect a critical juncture for international relations in an era marked by conflict and shifting alliances. As the May 9 celebrations approach, the international community will be closely monitoring not only the events in Moscow but also the broader implications for global diplomacy and security. The evolving situation in Ukraine continues to serve as a litmus test for international responses to aggression, and the decisions made by world leaders in the coming weeks may shape the geopolitical landscape for years to come. In a world increasingly defined by geopolitical tensions and economic strategies, China is taking significant steps to counter perceived threats and encirclement plans that could destabilize its regional standing. This proactive approach comes as a reaction to the evolving dynamics of global power, particularly with the West's strategies in the Asia-Pacific region. As reported by Bloomberg on May 3, 2025, the Chinese government is keenly aware of Beijing's encirclement strategy and is mobilizing its resources accordingly. The concept of encirclement, historically rooted in military strategy, refers to the efforts made by one country to limit the movement and influence of another, effectively isolating it. In recent months, this strategy has been a point of contention as the United States and its allies have intensified their military presence in the region, conducting joint exercises and forming new alliances that could constrain China's influence. Recognizing the implications of this strategy, Chinese officials have voiced concern, emphasizing the need for a comprehensive response. China will not sit idly by while facing potential encirclement. Our response will be multifaceted, focusing on both diplomatic channels and military readiness, announced a senior official from the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs. This declaration signals a shift in China's approach, moving towards a more assertive stance in its foreign policy. Economically, the ramifications of this counter-strategy are profound. As China seeks to bolster its trade relationships, particularly with its neighbors in Southeast Asia, it is simultaneously investing in technological advancements and military modernization. This dual approach aims not only to solidify its position in the global economy but also to ensure national security. Recent data indicates a marked increase in defense spending, projected to rise by 10% this year alone, reflecting the urgency with which China views its strategic standing. The implications of this counter-encirclement strategy extend beyond military and economic realms. Internationally, it could lead to heightened tensions and an arms race reminiscent of Cold War dynamics. Analysts suggest that as China fortifies its defenses and expands its influence, neighboring countries may feel compelled to either align with the US or to enhance their own military capabilities. We are at a crossroads in global politics. The decisions made today will shape the balance of power for decades to come, noted an expert on international relations. As this situation unfolds, the potential for conflict remains a pressing concern. The Chinese government's commitment to countering encirclement reflects a broader anxiety over sovereignty and territorial integrity, issues that resonate deeply within its political narrative. With military exercises on the rise and diplomatic negotiations intensifying, the world watches closely, aware that the actions taken today could ignite larger conflicts tomorrow. In conclusion, as China actively counters Beijing's encirclement plan, the global community is poised for a period of heightened scrutiny and potential volatility. The interplay between economic strategies and military readiness will be crucial to watch in the coming months as both China and its rivals navigate a complex landscape fraught with challenges and opportunities. The evolution of these dynamics will undoubtedly shape the future of international relations, making it imperative for stakeholders to engage thoughtfully and strategically. In a rapidly evolving global landscape, China has taken significant steps to respond to what is being described as an encirclement strategy by the United States. As tensions rise between the two economic superpowers, recent developments suggest that China is not merely reacting but is actively reshaping its position in the international arena. Analysts and experts have begun to examine the implications of these strategies, particularly as they relate to global economic stability and geopolitical dynamics. Recent reports indicate that China is recalibrating its foreign policy to counter U.S. initiatives that it perceives as attempts to isolate it economically and politically. For example, the U.S. has been working to strengthen alliances in the Asia-Pacific region, which some experts believe could limit China's influence. China's response is not just defensive, it's an assertion of its strategic interests in the face of U.S. hegemony, noted a senior analyst at a leading think tank. This sentiment reflects a broader trend of nations reassessing their positions amid increasing protectionism and nationalistic policies across the globe. The economic ramifications of these tensions are significant. Trade patterns are shifting as countries navigate the complexities of tariff sanctions and new trade agreements. China's recent push for greater economic collaboration with countries in Africa and Latin America is seen as a strategic maneuver to enhance its global presence while counterbalancing U.S. influence. As one economist put it, China is playing a long game, investing in infrastructure and development projects that will yield dividends far into the future. The Belt and Road Initiative continues to expand, with China leveraging its economic clout to build partnerships that could provide a buffer against U.S. economic pressures. Moreover, the ongoing struggle between the two nations is not limited to trade. Technology has emerged as a critical battleground, with issues surrounding intellectual property rights, cybersecurity, and technological advancement at the forefront of the discourse. China's significant investments in artificial intelligence and renewable energy technologies underscore its ambition to lead in these sectors. The race for technological supremacy is as important as any military strategy, remarked a cybersecurity expert, emphasizing how technology will shape the future balance of power. As President Xi Jinping navigates these turbulent waters, his administration has sought to portray China as a stabilizing force in a chaotic world. Recent diplomatic efforts have aimed to reassure both domestic and international audiences of China's commitment to peaceful development and mutual cooperation. Xi's diplomacy injects certainty and stability into an uncertain world, stated a spokesperson from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, reflecting the government's narrative that seeks to position China as a responsible global actor. Looking ahead, the trajectory of U.S.-China relations remains uncertain. The interplay of economic policies, diplomatic initiatives, and technological competition will likely define the international landscape for years to come. As both nations continue to assert their interests, the global economy may face new challenges. However, it might also find opportunities for collaboration in unexpected areas such as climate change and public health. The potential for both confrontation and cooperation renders the coming months critical in determining how these superpowers will shape the world order of the future. In a significant geopolitical maneuver, China is intensifying its efforts to counter the encirclement strategy proposed by U.S. officials, a plan that has raised alarms within Chinese leadership circles. The tension surrounding this development underscores a critical moment in international relations as countries grapple with the implications of military and economic strategies being employed by superpowers. The U.S. encirclement plan, widely seen as an attempt to limit China's influence in the Asia-Pacific region, involves strengthening alliances with countries such as Japan, South Korea, and India. This strategy has been characterized by an increase in military cooperation and joint exercises among these nations, reflecting a collective effort to address perceived threats from Beijing. According to a senior Chinese official, this initiative has not only elevated security concerns but also prompted a reevaluation of China's diplomatic and military postures. In response, China has initiated a series of diplomatic overtures aimed at reinforcing its relationships with neighboring countries. Analysts suggest that these moves are designed to counterbalance American influence and to foster a regional coalition that can stand against U.S.-led initiatives. China is keenly aware that the encirclement strategy poses a direct challenge to its national sovereignty and security, noted Dr. Li Wei, a prominent expert on international relations. By strengthening ties with key partners, China aims to create a counterweight to U.S. alliances in the region. The implications of this strategic counteraction are profound. As tensions rise, the potential for military confrontations increases, particularly in contested areas such as the South China Sea and the Taiwan Strait. Furthermore, the economic ramifications are equally significant. As countries navigate the delicate balance between aligning with the U.S. and maintaining beneficial trade relationships with China, an increase in regional instability could lead to disruptions in global supply chains, impacting economies worldwide. The situation is further complicated by the ongoing shifts in global power dynamics. The rise of China as a formidable economic and military power has prompted a re-evaluation of traditional alliances and security frameworks. Countries that once relied heavily on U.S. support are now considering their positions in light of a more assertive China. As a result, the landscape of international politics is evolving, with nations increasingly prioritizing their strategic interests over historical allegiances. Looking ahead, the developments surrounding China's counteraction to the encirclement plan will be critical to watch. The effectiveness of China's diplomatic efforts and the response from the U.S. and its allies will shape the trajectory of regional security and economic stability. As both sides navigate this complex interplay, the broader implications for global order remain uncertain and the potential for conflict looms large. Ultimately, how these nations choose to engage with one another will determine the future of international relations in an increasingly multipolar world. In a world increasingly marked by geopolitical tension and diplomatic discord, the importance of open dialogue between nations has never been more crucial. Recent statements from Chinese ambassador to the United States Xi Jinping underscore this sentiment, as he affirmed Beijing's willingness to engage with Washington, provided that the U.S. approaches discussions with respect. This declaration comes amid a backdrop of strained relations between the two powers, igniting conversations about the potential for collaboration and understanding. Ambassador Xi articulated a clear stance emphasizing that China is open to dialogue with the US if it is based on mutual respect. This statement reflects a growing desire within China's leadership to foster a more constructive relationship with the US, particularly as global challenges mount, including climate change, trade disputes, and security concerns in the Asia-Pacific region. By expressing a readiness for dialogue, China appears to be seeking a path to mitigate misunderstandings and enhance cooperation. The implications of these remarks are significant, especially as they come at a time when U.S. relations with China have been characterized by suspicion and rivalry. In his comments, Xi highlighted that mutual respect is essential for any diplomatic engagement to be fruitful, suggesting that previous approaches may have lacked this fundamental principle. This call for respect could signal a shift in China's diplomatic posture, aiming to create a more conducive environment for discussions around contentious issues such as human rights, Taiwan, and trade policies. Moreover, the timing of Xi's remarks coincides with heightened tensions in the Indo-Pacific region, where military maneuvers and strategic alliances have become increasingly pronounced. The U.S. has sought to strengthen ties with allies in the region, including India, which is also navigating its own complex relationship with China. As U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken recently visited Delhi, discussions about deepening ties were accompanied by the recognition of the need to engage with China thoughtfully. This dual approach reflects a broader strategy of balancing alliances while keeping channels open for dialogue with Beijing. In the context of this evolving diplomatic landscape, China's willingness to engage with the U.S. may also serve as a strategic maneuver to enhance its global standing and influence. By portraying itself as a nation open to respectful dialogue, China could be aiming to counter negative perceptions and reinforce its position as a key player on the world stage. However, for such dialogue to be meaningful and productive, both sides must be willing to engage in good faith. Experts suggest that the U.S. must also demonstrate a commitment to respect China's core interests while addressing its own concerns. This reciprocal approach could pave the way for negotiations on critical issues, ranging from economic cooperation to security arrangements. As the world watches closely, the potential for renewed dialogue between the U.S. and China may hold the key to addressing not only bilateral challenges but also broader global issues. The coming months will be pivotal in determining whether both nations can move beyond rhetoric and take concrete steps towards a more stable and cooperative relationship. The outcome of this diplomatic engagement could significantly shape the geopolitical landscape, influencing not just the future of U.S.-China relations but also the stability of the entire international order.